Welcome. Now, for those of you who may not be completely familiar with the plot of The Merry Wives of Windsor, I thought it might be useful to give a brief introduction to this particular piece. Sir John Falstaff, who is staying in Windsor and down on his luck, decides to restore his fortunes by seducing the wives of two wealthy citizens, Page and Ford. He sends Mistress Page and Mistress Ford identical love letters, but they discover his double-dealing and set about turning the tables, arranging an assignation at Mistress Ford's house. Frank Ford has heard of Falstaff's plan and decides to test his wife's fidelity, and pretending to be Master Brook, he pays Falstaff to seduce his wife on his behalf. And when Falstaff reaches Mistress Ford's house, he begins his flirtation. But he's interrupted when Mistress Page announces that the menfolk are returning. They convince Falstaff to hide in a large laundry basket, and he is carried out to the river while Ford ransacks the house in search of him. Falstaff then meets again with Ford, still disguised as Master Brook, and describes what happened, as you will now hear.
"Nay, you shall hear, Master Brook, what I have suffered to bring this woman to evil for your good. Being thus crammed in the basket, a couple of Ford's knaves, his hinds, were called forth by their mistress to carry me in the name of foul clothes to Datchet Lane. There they took me on their shoulders, met the jealous knave their master in the door, who asked them once or twice what they had in their basket. I quaked for fear, lest the lunatic knave would have searched it, but fate ordaining he should be a cuckold, held his hand. Well, on went he for a search, and away went I for foul clothes. But mark the sequel, Master Brook. I suffered the pangs of 3 several deaths. First, an intolerable fright to be detected with a jealous rotten bellwether. Next, to be compassed like a good bilbo in the circumference of a pack, hilt to point, heel to head, and then to be stopped in like a strong distillation with stinking clothes that fretted in their own grease. Oh, think of that! A man of my kidney, think of that am as subject to heat as butter. A man of continual dissolution and thaw. It was a miracle to escape suffocation. And in the height of this bath, when I was more than half stewed in grease like a Dutch dish, to be thrown into the Thames and cooled, glowing hot in that surge like a horseshoe. Think of that! Hissing hot! Think of that, Master Brook!